Hey there, Leafs Nation. I'm Riley Roberts, and this is Blue and White Weekly. The Toronto Maple Leafs have broken through to the second round, but standing in their way of a conference final appearance is the reigning defending Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers. So let's take a look now at how the Leafs and Panthers stack up against each other as their round 2 matchup kicks off tomorrow night. Before we get into what's going to go down when the Leafs and Panthers face each other, let's take a look at how they got here. The Toronto Maple Leafs defeated the Ottawa Senators in 6 games in their first round matchup, although it could have been in 4 or 5. The Leafs went up 3-0 at the start of the series, and they had a chance to close it out at home in Game 5, but turned in their worst performance of the series. The Florida Panthers, on the other hand, were considered underdogs despite being the defending Stanley Cup champions, as they came in the 3rd Atlantic seed against the number 2 seed Tampa Bay Lightning. Everyone anticipated a Leafs and Lightning matchup here in the second round, but the Panthers subverted those expectations, defeating the Lightning in just 5 games. As I just mentioned, the Leafs could have defeated the Senators in, 4 games. They could have swept the series, or in 5 on home ice, but they took their foot off the gas and let it go to 6 games, almost to 7, as it came pretty down to the wire in the 3rd period of Game 6. Looking at this series from the Leafs' perspective, the Panthers are meaner and scarier than the Senators in pretty much every facet of the game, and that's no disrespect to the Ottawa Senators. That's just a sign of how good the Florida Panthers are. Better offense, better defense, better goaltending. Not only that, another area that they beat the Sens and the Leafs in is mean hockey. The Panthers play a very mean and aggressive style of hockey. They're going to hit first, score goals later, and they're definitely going to score those goals later. But an upside for the Leafs is that with mean hockey, hopefully comes a fair amount of penalties. It is NHL refereeing in the playoffs against the Leafs, so we'll see how that ends up. The Leafs were 35.3% on the power play in their 6 games against the Ottawa Senators, and they're going to have to bump those numbers up because the Panthers are going to give them no room for error at 5-on-5. The Leafs need to capitalize with the man advantage if they want to see any hope of winning this series. And the Panthers aren't just an aggressive team, they're going to score on you too if you let them. Toronto's defense inarguably won them the series against the Ottawa Senators, and they're going to have to pull it out here against the Panthers. A key part of Toronto's decor this year is Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Where did he play last year in the playoffs? With the Florida Panthers, and he's not the only Leaf that did so. Steven Lorentz, one of the bottom 6 forwards, and starting goaltender Anthony Stolarz were also part of that cup-winning Panthers team. You can bet Craig Berube is, along with the Leafs video staff, one of the best in the game, is going to be going to those 3 players for a lot of information on how Paul Maurice likes to run this Panthers team in the playoff run. Those 3 players have to shine, and really the entire Leafs roster has to shine, especially, and I don't want to harp on this point because we all always do, the core 4, or the core 5 if you want to count Morgan Riley, or the core 6 if you want to count Matthew Knies, which me personally, I do. The story of Matthew Knies and the Florida Panthers is an interesting one. Really, the story of Matthew Knies and the state of Florida is an interesting one. Matthew Knies lost the NCAA championship as a member of the Minnesota Gophers at Amalie Arena, home of the Tampa Bay Lightning, mere days, I believe, before he joined the Leafs for their first round matchup against the Lightning in 2023. And he would go on an absolute rampage in that series. He played on the line, I want to say, with Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Acciari. And then when the Leafs defeated the Lightning in that first round series, their first round win in 19 years, I believe, they would go on to face the Florida Panthers, where Matthew Knies would score his first career NHL goal, not regular season goal, obviously, his just first overall NHL goal against the Panthers in that 2023 series. And he looked phenomenal against the Panthers in that series until Sam Bennett took him out with a very dirty hit that I'm obviously still upset about. If the Leafs want any hope of defeating this Panthers squad, Knies is going to have to be at the top of his game. He has proven himself to be a key player this season on that top line with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, and he's going to have to keep showing why he deserves to be on that line. He's going to need to be laying that big body of his. He needs to be putting up goals, and he needs to be parking himself in front on that top power play unit to contribute to bringing that power play percentage up on the man advantage. Throughout this 2024-25 regular season, the Leafs and Panthers played each other 4 times, with the Panthers taking 3 of those 4 meetings. But as the Leafs proved against the Senators last round, regular season hockey means nothing in the playoffs. The Sens beat the Leafs in every matchup they had this year, and, well, we saw how far it got them this year. Even in those regular season matchups, other than their very first meeting in November, which the Panthers won 5-1, every other game was decided by 2 goals or less. I could see this series playing out much the same way, both in individual games and the series itself. I could see this thing going straight to 7 and every single game being decided either by 1 goal or in overtime by 1 goal. In the playoff prediction video that's up on our channel right now, hopefully you've seen it. If you haven't, only about half of the predictions were right. My colleague Gilsey said that the Leafs and Sens first round matchup would be determined by who could play the other's game better. That would mean, could the Sens match the Leafs' style of maintaining pace of the game, scoring a fair amount of goals and just playing good, condensed, high-skill hockey? And could the Leafs match the Sens in terms of grit, physicality, overall annoyingness? If you thought the Ottawa Senators were annoying and gritty, the Florida Panthers are another team entirely. The Panthers play physical. They wear teams down, especially at the start of series. Did you see them in the first 2, 3, pretty much that whole series against the Tampa Bay Lightning? They wore the Lightning down. They are not fun to play against. They're not that fun to watch sometimes, if I'm honest, but they are not a fun team to play against. They make you hate stepping back on the ice. If the Leafs want to see success in this series, they're going to have to match that energy. The Leafs need to keep that exact mindset going up against the Panthers. You don't want to be fun to play against. You don't want them to look forward to their next shift. You don't want them to look forward to the next game or 3 games. You don't want them to, even if they beat you, look forward to the next round. You want them to be tired, worn down, broken for the next time they step out on the ice. Once whichever team wears the other down first, you're going to see a lot of high-skill hockey. Both teams have very impressive cores. For the Leafs, needs no introduction. You got guys Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner leading the charge with very high-skill offensive talent. But the Panthers are nothing to sneeze at either. Sasha Barkov, Matthew Tkachuk, guys like that are going to lead the charge for the Florida Panthers, put up points, put up moments, and they're going to be tough to deal with on top of the physicality of the rest of the team. And that's without even talking about the matchup of the goalies. Sergei Bobrovsky is a playoff monster. He's a regular season monster, not like he used to be, but he is dangerous in the playoffs. He backstopped the Panthers to 2 straight Stanley Cup Finals appearances, with them winning last year. But remember who his backup was last year? Anthony Stolarz. And Stolarz is no longer his backup. He's now the starter for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I dare you now to name Bobrovsky's backup this season and in this series. Go on, genuinely, think about it for a moment. Don't look it up. Think about it. Vitek Vanacek. I'm willing to bet about half of you went to look that up. You paused the video and you went to Google and you went to see who the backup was. Now, I'd wager those same half of you, or pretty much all of you, if I asked that question about Anthony Stolar's backup, you would know instantly that it's Joseph Woll sitting on the bench for the Maple Leafs. What does it prove exactly? Well, not necessarily anything. It's still going to come down to the guys who start the game, who play the games, and that's Sergei Bobrovsky and Anthony Stolarz. And if you're looking at just the 2 of them, Bobrovsky is the better goalie, no doubt. You're not going to pick his former backup over him. But forbid those 2 or just even one of them end up injured, it's always about next man up. We say that all the time in hockey, next man up mentality. If you look at the next men up, Vitek Vanacek and Joseph Woll, every single time I'm picking Joseph Woll. Joseph Woll is a starter caliber goalie. He's ready to go. He has been ready to go all playoffs, all season, and he showed us that this season. He had a phenomenal year. He's ready to go whenever he goes in the playoffs, and I would trust him. I don't put that same trust in Vitek Vanacek. The playoffs are not supposed to be easy. It gets harder every single round. I think that's something that the Leafs have forgotten in the last few years. No doubt, and no hate towards the man, but no doubt thanks to the mentality of the front office and the coaching staff. No hate towards Sheldon Keefe whatsoever, but he is not the motivator that Craig Berube is, especially in the playoffs. I'd be willing to bet that Berube definitely let the Leafs hear it after they gave up games 4 and 5 against the Senators. Yeah, sure, celebrate that you won game 6, celebrate that you made it out of the first round, but it's the first round. There's 3 more rounds to go. You got to win 12 more games of hockey. You won 4. Congratulations. There are 12 games left. You're a quarter of the way there. What happens if you lose here in the second round? You're just another team that didn't make it. History is written by the winners. You're going to be forgotten. It's a cliche, but the Leafs need to play every single game perfectly. I'm not going to say treat every game like it's game 7, because if the Leafs do that, this thing will be over in 4. What I'm saying is bring your best performance every single game this series. Bring your A game every single game this series. Treat it like it could be your last shift out there. If you're just going out there to coast, if you're looking to take a break this game, if you're looking to not give it everything, you're not worthy of winning the Stanley Cup. It's plain and simple. We need to see the Leafs team from those first 3 games against the Senators. We need the Leafs team from game 6 against the Senators. The Leafs need to go out there every single night and claim the game as theirs. Claim the ice as theirs. Claim the puck as theirs. Every shift, no quit. Don't take your foot off the gas for even 1 second, because with Ottawa, where you had that room to, lose 1 or 2 games, which they did, the Panthers aren't going to give you that. The Panthers are going to give you no room for error. There is no breathing room. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Berube mentioned after Game 6 against Ottawa that when Ottawa tied the game late in the third, he heard someone, there was no moaning and groaning on his bench. He heard someone on the Leafs bench say, "Let's go get it." There's the answer. That's the mentality you need to have against the Florida Panthers. Let's go get it. Don't wait for them to score that tying goal or the go-ahead goal. Say from the get-go, let's go get it. Let's show them we belong here. Right? There's no time to sit and lick your wounds. There's all summer for that. There's all next season for that if you end up winning the Cup. There's no time to say, I need a break. There's no, let's get them next game. There is no next game against the Florida Panthers. Every game needs to be yours. All that said, if I sound like I can't really poke holes in Florida as a team, I don't know if I can. They are a scary team. They won the Stanley Cup last year for a reason, and you call me crazy, but they might be an even better team this year. That said, I am a Leafs fan. I am biased. Whichever way this series goes, it's going to 7 games, right? We all want that to happen. It's good for the game of hockey that happens. 7 games of pure hatred, pure rivalry, pure hockey. Once we hit that 7th game, if they can do everything right, if they can capitalize on the penalties that Florida is going to give, if Stolarz can stay healthy and stay strong, if the D can shut down and match up against the Panthers' tough guys and their goal scorers, and if the Leafs offense can, be what we know they can be, I say Leafs in 7. But those are just my thoughts, so let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I could be proven right, or I could be proven completely wrong when the puck drops tomorrow night on Game 1 between the Florida Panthers and Toronto Maple Leafs. Myself and my colleagues here at Blue and White Weekly are going to have a lot more to say on this series as it gets underway, along with every other second-round matchup of the Stanley Cup Playoffs, so keep it locked here on Blue and White Weekly. But for now, thank you very much for watching, Leafs Nation. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember, go Leafs, go. We'll see you next time.